everyone. Welcome to the Detroit Metro League practice here. I know there was sorry for all the problems. The links changed. We have to get used to this because this season we're going to be playing using this method of matchups here. The games have started, so we're going to get into it. Shout out to Khalid Proctor, 21 Savage Man. Proctor, hello, what's going on? Shout out to you guys. Good luck in this practice tournament. There's only 4 players right now. You can join as late as you want. Anybody out there watching, if you're having a problem joining the Detroit Metro League online, please call me 313-878-2807. If you're from the Detroit Metro League, this is for the kids, guys. So I know those of you who are watching might not be a part of the Detroit Metro League. You cannot play in this tournament, this particular tournament, but you're free to watch. Also, you see the ticker up below, up above us. We have another practice tournament next Saturday. This is the 12th. It's going to be at 1 p.m. as well. And hopefully we have more participation in that practice tournament before we start league play. Also, there's an optional trophy tournament that costs $10 per child. It's a trophy tournament. The top 3 places in each grade get a trophy, K3, K5, K8, K12. You can find more info and details about that tournament on MichiganJuniorChessArena.com, MichiganJuniorChessArena.com. And shout out to everyone from the board that are watching this stream and that have supported the kids this year from the Detroit Metro League. All right, let's get into the games here. Our top game is Khalid P1 versus WJH3122. WJH3122. This is Wallace Harris, I believe, against Khalid Proctor. I am not sure, but I think that is the case. Yeah, Khalid Proctor and Khalid Proctor in the Michigan Junior Arena. And that's what we're watching right now. And hey, let's break down this game. We see that WJH, Wallace Harris, has a really good control over the center here. Look at his control over the D5 square. There's also an imbalance of structure. So one of the key components of chess is the pawn structure. That's the skeleton of the chess. And if you look at this position, you see 4 pawns in a row for black compared to 3 pawns in a row for white. So that's and then on the other side we have 4 in a row connected for white against 3 here. And in here we have some opposite side castling here. And when you see positions with opposite side castling, usually the plan is just who can mate the other person first. Because when you castle on opposite sides, you are not as concerned about pushing pawns on the opposite side because your king is not on that side, so it doesn't weaken up your king. But in this case, you can push those pawns with pawn storms on the queen side without worrying about weakening up your king. And then your opponent is going to be trying to do the same thing on the other side. So opposite side castling, the main plan there is checkmate, who checkmates first. And a lot of times when you want to gauge whether your opposite side castling technique will work, you would like to see how many of those pawn moves that you get are going to run into other pieces so that your pawns can get extra moves to attack that side of the board. So if we look at the move G4 and G5, that is going to be able to attack a knight, then that gives you a free move. And on this side, black is going to be looking at playing moves like B5 and A4, even though right now white has control over the B5 and the A4 squares. So I think actually black might be a little bit faster here. You see, he put his rook on B8 so he can play B5 without a problem. He could have also played C6 here, which I thought would have been a better move. Controls D5, and it also enables B5 and then A4. The veteran move by Wallace Harris is to play knight B5, which stops the move B5. But he has to be careful of the move C6, because after knight takes, but there's a knight takes D6 here. He does win the pawn. Oh, he goes back here. Wallace did not try to go knight takes d6, scared of rook d8, but actually the knight will be able to take on b7. Now I will say this, the good thing about this practice is these are 15-minute games. We're going to be playing longer games, a little bit longer games in our league play, but in 15-minute games, I think both players are moving way too fast when you have this time control. Remember, when whatever time control you're playing, that's the limit, that's the least amount of seconds you should be thinking. So if you're playing a 30-minute game, you should think every move for 30 seconds, which will leave you about 1/3 of the time left after the average game of 40 moves. The average amount of moves a game takes is about 40 moves overall. If you played 40 moves at 30 seconds, you will have at least 1/3 of the total time left. In 15-minute games, you should use at least 15 seconds. And these games are 15 minutes with 1 second increment. So you even have more time at the end, but you should use at least 15 seconds per move here in a 15-minute game. So that's something they have to get used to. That's why this is the Detroit Metro League practice, right? Detroit Metro League practice, because we want to get better. We want to get used to these time controls. We want to used to getting back in the grind and playing chess here as we see bishop to e6 attacking the rook on c8 so that we can be prepared for our season. Shout out to Kevin Fight, who is the organizer of the Detroit Metro League and pulls out the big guns. He's been a contributor to Detroit Chess for so many years. Shout out to LaRonda McCann as well, doing the same thing, volunteering their time to make sure that we have chess in the city of Detroit. And all the coaches that volunteer from whether it's Bates or Cornerstone. Actually, these players are representing Bates here. So shout out to Chevelle Downs, Derek Wilder, Dominic Johnson, any coaches that I've missed, because I know there's a lot of new coaches out there. Bethune-Cookman, there's so many schools. I'm scared I'm gonna miss one. Feel free to comment, hey, what's going on? Chase Harris, where you at? You can join the tournament, Chase. Even if you're late, you can join the tournament, and you will get paired after everything is, after someone finishes a game. So shout out to Chase here. I see you in the comments. As we're looking at the game is Khalid Proctor versus Wallace Harris. Both these players have great success. Wallace Harris, part of a state championship Cornerstone team. I'm gonna go to another game. I see we have Checkmate Chase. Okay, Checkmate Chase is in there. Let's go to another game here. We got Khalid Proctor versus Lightning Alex. And this position is very interesting. We have Lightning Alex with black, Khalid Proctor with the white pieces. We see a knight versus a bishop situation. That is the biggest difference. When you're playing chess, you always want to look at the differences on the board, because from those differences is how you can outplay your opponent and outsmart your opponent because of those differences. And a knight versus a bishop, that's a big difference. And you see that Khalid Proctor has a strong knight on e5. Now, the funny thing about this position is looks like it's so strong that Lightning Alex might trade the rook for the knight, which is very interesting. So that was a blunder here. Then again, like I said, you should think about, for 15 seconds, the knight on d7 is en prise. En prise is a French word for hanging to the bishop on h3, en prise, and Lightning Alex misses that there, and you see they're both moving way too fast for the time control, where they're missing these key moves here. So Khalid Proctor goes back, and Lightning Alex takes the knight there. That is a very mature move to play by black, knowing that, hey, rook is worth 5, knight is worth 3, but that knight on e5 was worth more than the rook here. And Alex is going to try his best to maybe attack the light squares and help this bishop out. And look at Khalid Proctor. He actually sacrifices the rook back after bishop takes f1. Now we just have a pure queen and king versus queen and king and some pawns. And everything is actually, black is actually up a pawn. So this favors black. And the reason why black was up a pawn is because black sacrificed the exchange with rook takes e5. A safety move here by h6 shows a lot of maturity here, making sure there's no back rank problems here. Alex is threatening b2. He didn't want to rush and take this pawn. That was a lot of maturity. Now he could go queen takes b2 with a check, and that would be a winning move by black there. And he does that, and Lightning Alex is in a really good position. He trades here, and there is a passed pawn that can't be stopped. Extra pawn becomes a queen, and Khalid Proctor is going to go down in the first round. This is an arena style tournament. This is not the same tournament or same style of tournament we're going to play when we get to league play. Since it's practice, we're going to play as many 15-minute games as we can in this 2 hours. Then again, it's practice. You don't have to participate in the whole 2 hours, guys. Do not have to participate the whole 2 hours. You can withdraw. Like I said, it's practice. But if you want to be competitive and compete, you could try to win the tournament and play the whole 2 hours. But you just have 2 hours to play as many games as possible and get used to the time control. Get the feeling. Get your rhythm back. All right, so this should be won here by Lightning Alex. We're going to go to another game here. Let's see if the game is still going on here with Wallace Harris and Khalid Proctor. And it is. We see that Wallace has he has advanced his king to d5. He's looking to attack some of the dark square pawns here, but Khalid Proctor has a potential of creating a passed pawn here. I would expect him, first he has to protect the square, so he does. He plays king to g3. His plan is to play f3. Now, white might have to sacrifice that bishop for the last pawn, but it looks like white is going to go for the bishop here on h8, which I believe is a mistake. He should have went for the pawns on the other side of the board. And wow, actually what he did there, and then now king to f4 would win the pawn on f3, and black has made a mistake there. So he's gonna, after king f4, that, oh no, he sacrifices. There was no need to sacrifice. King f4, the pawn couldn't go anywhere. And so now black is gonna try to box, but he has to watch it here. He probably should have played bishop to c3. Would have been a better move here, so that he could play bishop to b4. So now maybe this is going to be close here. Maybe you have to play a4 here. So he gives up the a5 pawn. And now it looks like he's going to have to play king to b2. King b2 here. And black should still win this game here, but he doesn't have the best technique. Now I'm going to, oh, but then the king is going to have to move here. So black is still in control in this game. Maybe the move king, yep, there he goes, king b2. And then I wonder, will he try to run with a4? He is. He's going to try to run there. And this could be a problem here for black. This is a problem for black here. A big problem. Because now the bishop is blocked by his own pawn. This passed pawn, if it ever gets to the a7 square, game is over. There will be a queen appearing on a8. Shout out to everybody. Chase Harris is in the chat here. Khalid, Caleb Proctor. Shout out to you. You're in the chat as well. And this is a problem here. This is a big problem. Now black is just struggling to get a draw, which I'm not sure he can even get a draw. That was a great move by Wallace Harris here, king g3. And if king to b4, you're going to have the move c5. And there's a problem here. White, it does not look good. White is going to win this game against the bishop, 2 passes versus the bishop. And there was a lot of ups and downs in this game here. Now the move a7 is going to come. Oh, wow. Okay, king to b7. Can't stop the queen here. And a queen has appeared, so that means white, it should go on to win this game unless something crazy happens here. And this should be it. Wallace should go ahead and convert this game. Now let's see. Now after this check here, now it's just boxing the king. Let's see the technique from Wallace here to finish this game. Creating that box, limiting the king, driving the king back to the corner, or will he try? Okay, so he created a box here. Now, the one thing is he has to watch it here. Now, he is threatening checkmate, so that is pretty much unstoppable. Oh, I'm sorry. No, not checkmate. Not checkmate just yet. We can win the... Well, he could have won the bishop here, but now he is threatening checkmate with queen to b5 checkmate. And then there it goes. He's looking at it first. I don't know if he's thinking about taking the bishop here on c5, but queen to b5 is checkmate. Let's check in on the other games. We have Checkmate Chase versus Khalid Proctor. And this is in the early stages. And look at this game. I see white has a little bit of a development lead. But black is okay. He has really good control over the center with this d5 pawn here. And wow, look at that. A fork happens here on d4. As Checkmate Chase runs right into that fork. First he goes knight takes d7, knight takes d7, but this fork is this is gonna net a piece for a pawn. And I don't see any counterplay, so that's gonna be just a piece for a pawn there for Khalid Proctor there. As you see his brother kind of saying nice job bro in the chat. Now in league play, the chat will not be enabled. This is okay in practice because we just want to get our rhythm back here. And then black is just going for trades here. Really good technique. Black is forking the knight on c3 and the pawn on e3, which is attacked twice. And then, oh, he just gives up his queen for a bishop. With it's a fork with bishop takes e3, hitting the queen and the king. Oh no! Now Khalid Proctor didn't see that, and that's because he didn't take his 15 seconds for a 15-minute game thinking time that he should have taken there. Now he's of course still winning here. He has to move knight to c4, which will win the queen on d2 because it's a check. You get a discovery check here on the king. Anytime you move a piece from in front of another piece and it delivers a check, that's called a discovery. And oh, but he gives up the knight here. So he didn't execute the discovery. He moves the bishop to a5, but nothing protects the knight. So now he can play the move queen takes e3, and if bishop to b6, all he has to do is play a move like d4, and the skewer doesn't work, or the pin does not work there. All checkmate chase has to do is see that the knight is hanging. The knight is actually hanging here, so queen takes e3 gets his piece back. Wow. And remember, guys, when you're up material, a lot of times you get excited, and it's something that we call the winning disease. You don't want to. It's a terrible disease to have, where you're up a piece and you feel like you're winning, but at that point you're no longer looking for the best moves. As we see, even though the piece was taken back, we see Caleb play an excellent move here with knight to e5, which might just net him the queen anyway. But when you have the winning disease, you don't want to have the winning disease. So when you're winning, you want to buckle down, make sure your pieces are, after you won material, you might see that your pieces are on the side of the board and they're unorganized. You want to bring those pieces back to the center of the board, to the middle, and devise a plan based on your new material advantage, whether it's a piece or extra pawn. And you want you want to keep calm. You want to make sure that you're not going to give that piece back. You want to make sure that you're focused, because someone who's cornered and losing is always focused and looking for that one move that they can use to come back. And you need to mate that person with that same type of energy when you have a piece up. So it's a saying that one of the hardest games to win is a one game, and that's true. So you wanna make sure that when you have an extra piece, you are winning. You want to trade pieces off, make a simple end game, simplify the game so there is less chance to make blunders and mistakes, and then convert your victory. But you have to be patient. 21 Savage Man 212 Proctor said, "This is crazy." I know it is crazy what's happening here. I think in the last 4 or 5 moves, black was winning, then white was winning. So the winning advantage has switched between these two players. I want to know, are these players teammates? I think they are teammates. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think these are the Cornerstone players practicing here from the state championship Cornerstone team. All right, so let's check in on some other games here. We have Lightning Alex versus now we have Deshaun Woods have just checked in. Shout out to Deshaun Woods. You should be paired pretty soon. Remember, guys, it's not too late to join the practice. Not too late to join the practice. You can join at any time. You might be down some points, but it's just practice, so we don't have to be super and hyper competitive. All right. What are we looking at here? So Lightning Alex, who won his last game. We see that Lightning Alex has the imbalance. Now, we always want to look for imbalances when you're playing chess. What's different? There's 2 knights versus 2 bishops. Bishops are successful in open positions where pawns don't block their diagonals. You would love to have those bishops right next to each other too, right? Because they can control both colors on 2 adjacent diagonals as well. Here we have the 2 knights. Knights love closed positions. The more pawns, the better the knights. The less pawns, the better the bishops are. So the material here is even. 7 pawns, 7 pawns, 2 rooks, and a queen. Now here, I'm expecting to see the move like the move bishop to e3, which attacks the rook here on b6. That's a natural move, attacking a piece of greater value. Remember, when you're playing chess, there is 3 questions that you should ask yourself before every move. This will help your attacking chess, and it also help your defending chess. First question is, are there any checks on the board? Look at all the checks on the board and check it out. Question 2 is, can you attack a piece more times than protect it? That's the second question you should ask yourself. And then question 3 is, can you attack a piece of greater value? If you ask all those 3 questions in the game, you wouldn't believe the things that you would find here, as Alex finds question number 3, attacking a piece of greater value. And now the rook is being attacked by the less valuable bishop here. And just think about it, because if the rook moves here, maybe back, maybe that's where he has to move. But if the move moves to like rook a6, then you're gonna have bishop to c4 and gonna chase the rook to an even worse square here. He goes rook to b7. And I think Alex is still gonna try to bring this bishop to the square b5, where it will pin the knight to the rook here. So I'm looking for moves like bishop to c4. If rook takes b2, we'll still play rook bishop to b5, and you would have enough play, enough attacking the position to make up for being down the b2 pawn. And I believe that's what Alex is looking at now. Now, the one thing I will say when I'm looking at Lightning Alex is look how much time he's using. Look how much time he's using in his position. Right now, he's going close to 1 minute of thought, and then he finds the move bishop to c4. He has his eyes on either question number 2, which is attack a piece more times to protect it, or bishop to a6 is attack a piece more times to protect it as well. So there we go. We looked at this position. Rook takes b2 was played by Wallace, and now there is bishop to b5. And the knight can't move to any good square without giving up the rook on e8. So the only way you could protect the knight is to pin your own queen with queen to d7, and you don't want to do that. But that's what happened. That queen is going to be there for a long time too. So now Alex is going to want to find a way to put more pressure on the pinned piece. Like they say on Chess Kid, PP on the PP, put pressure on pinned piece. But right now, I don't see a way for him to do that. Now, I do see, now what he could do actually is go queen to f5. Remove the queen from the defense of the pinned piece because the knight is pinned to the rook. So if he plays a move like queen f5, now he's going to kick the queen off of the diagonal and will no longer be able to protect the knight on c6. So queen f5 looks like a money move there. Maybe he was going to have to play a move like rook to e6. That prevents the trade of the queens there and might save black in this position. But no matter what happens here, it was enough play for the pawn, enough action for white to make up for the missing b2 pawn here, as Alex thinks for another minute. So this is impressive, guys. I want you guys to get used to thinking for a long time. The one who thinks the most is usually the best. He finds queen f5, which is only a product of his thinking time. Now black is going to have to take some time to think to find the move Rook E6, and Rook E6 might be the biggest money move there is on this board here. Rook to E6. And Wallace Harris is taking his time to find Rook E6, which is really good. I believe he's going to find it just looking at his time. So we're going to go to another game here. Shout out to everybody here that's watching Detroit Metro League on YouTube right now. You can see in our ticker. By the way, let's go back to that game. Wallace did not find Rook E6. Instead, he trades the queens, but there is no way to defend the knight on C6 now. There's no way to defend the knight. So I wonder if he's just going to probably go Rook takes B7, give up the rook for the bishop. Or maybe he would move the knight, but if he moves the knight, you're going to lose the rook for the bishop no matter what. So he does move the knight to E7 because the knight is attacking the F5 pawn. But we should expect to see the move bishop takes E8, and then knight takes E8, and white is going to be up material because of that pressure on that file there. So that was a good job by Lightning Alex there. Okay, we have more players here. We got Jaden Woods. Shout out to Jaden Woods here. Deshaun Woods is also here. And Davian Woods is here. So many Woods. It's Davian Woods 0809 and Davian Woods 11. Shout out to everybody out there that's participating in the Detroit Metro League practice arena today. Woods, all these Woods, are they siblings? I wonder are they siblings here? But let's check out some of the games. We have Khalid Proctor versus Checkmate Chase. Now, for those of you who are waiting on games, just continue to wait. You will be paired by the computer soon. Yeah, if you're waiting to get paired, just hold on. You will get paired soon. Have some patience. We're looking at Khalid Proctor versus Checkmate Chase. This game has an imbalance, and the difference in this game, which we call an 8 imbalance, but the difference in the game is black hasn't castled and white has. That's the big difference. And let me give you guys a simple strategy when you see this difference, and this difference is called development, when one person hasn't castled and one person has, or when one person has more pieces developed from the back rank. And when I mean pieces, I'm not talking about pawns. When there's knights and bishops and rooks off of the back rank, and you have your pieces developed off of the back rank, but your opponent does not. You have one goal here. Be aggressive and open the position. Open the center. Now, what do you mean by open the center? You want those pawns in the center open. Because when the pawns are gone, then your pieces can easily travel in the position and you attack different targets. So if you have more pieces out than your opponent, attack now. Don't wait. Especially if your opponent's king is in the center. Then you really want to attack when the opponent's king in the center. I have a saying, everything your coach told you not to do, you do it anyway when the other person's king is in the center. And that's what it looks like Khalid Proctor is doing right now with white. Notice that black's king can castle to the queen side. That's a possibility. But right now, black is down a piece, so he doesn't have time now. Khalid Proctor is constantly putting more problems on the board, so black doesn't have time to castle. So we can expect A takes B4, which will attack the queen. Instead, he goes knight to E4, which is probably even a stronger move, because now he's aiming at the D6 square. And once the knight goes to D6 with check, the king is going to have to move, and the king will not be able to castle any longer. So that move knight to e4 shows me that checkmate chase understands development. So here, Khalid Proctor plays queen takes c2, and that makes some sense too for Khalid, because he's saying, hey, if I'm going to have my king on the in the center, let me trade queens so my king won't be so unsafe in the center of the board. Now, I do not like what happened here, because checkmate chase, or Khalid Proctor actually gave up a piece just to get the check here. And that's a problem, because after king to e7 attacking the knight, there is still a knight here on c2, and black is going to have an extra piece with no queens on the board. So this has flipped, right? So the king being in the center is a bad thing with the queens on the board, but the king being in the center when it's the end game, usually when queens are off the board, the king is actually a attacking piece. So black is going to have an extra piece here, and now I believe black is winning this game here because of a miscalculation. All right, let's go to another game here. Still waiting on Deshaun Woods, Jaden Woods, and Zakiya Sims Westside to be paired, be paired here. Looks like I did see Davion Woods did play a game here. He played against Khalid Proctor, so they will be paired pretty soon. Let's go back to the Lightning Alex versus Wallace Harris game. Things have changed here. What? No, I'm sorry. Lightning Alex has a bishop and rook versus two knights. But I will say this, Wallace Harris has these nice passed pawns. And I no longer, even though Lightning Alex does have this passed a pawn that's very dangerous here, I'm predicting there's going to be a move, rook to b7. If Wallace Harris could stop this passed pawn, his own passed pawns are going to be pretty fast. Pretty fast here. After rook b7, I think maybe he should play the move d3 now. Because if the pawn reaches d2, it's over. There will be a queen landing on d1. Wallace Harris was smart at doing this, because what this does is it stops the move bishop a5. Okay, so now he gives up his knight for the pawn, and now Alex Harris is going to have he's going to be able to get back here to stop this pawn. He can actually play king f1 and then go king e2 after the pushing the d2. Lightning Alex is using his time really well. You see he has 5 minutes. He's thinking about this move here. Looks like he's going to be in a good position here to stop this pawn here that's coming on d2. He uses his rook here. Sorry, guys. I had to answer an email there as we watch Lightning Alex and WJH 3122, which is Wallace Harris from the state champion Cornerstone team. Lightning Alex has definitely pulled out the awareness by bringing his bishop to the a5 square, trying to control the dark squares. I'm going to guess he's going to go bishop to c5. And he's just filling in the holes in front of those passed pawns, which makes Wallace's job hard to try to push those passed pawns with unison together, having those passed pawns holding hands, if you could say that. But this move that Lightning Alex made, maybe he's going to sacrifice his bishop for the pawn, but he has to because this move traps the bishop. That actually traps the bishop here. And maybe he feels like, hey, I'll give up the bishop for the pawn because I have a rook versus a knight and two pawns. But he has to be careful here because there's still some play here. Wallace is doing a really good job keeping his knight active. There's a check here. And what this is still winning for white. Alex wants to do is bring his king in front of the passed pawn so he relieves the burden of his rook. So his rook can be an attacking piece instead of a defending piece. Lightning Alex is one thing I must say again. I'm saying this over and over again. Look at how he's using his time. Okay, he's using his time very, very effectively. Now he plays this move, king to e3. Now I don't know if that's the best move because, like I said, he looks like he wants to try to attack with his king on his side, but what he really needs to do is get his king to c2 and use his king to stop the pass pawn. Now, I believe there could be a problem. Now, what it looks like he's going to do now is bring the rook behind the pass pawn and maybe check the king from behind. So you can see moves like rook c8, and if he blocks with knight to c7, I think white could just keep that there and then bring the king later if he ever pushes to c2. So now the king is cut off here, but the problem is you can't allow c2 because the pawn will go to c1. So Alex is in some serious trouble. Wallace has used his technique and the great ability of the knight to cover the queening square to cause some problems here. And so c2 wins the game because you can't stop the queen. You're going to have to sacrifice the rook for the c1 queen there, and then black will be up a piece at that point. So Alex is thinking, see, he's at 3 minutes. Shout out to everybody here that's joining us, Detroit Metro League on the YouTube channel. I am the coach Brian Wilson. I am a organizer of the Detroit Metro League online. I'm also as Alex finds the move rook c8, I'm also the coach of the Cast Tech chess team. And oh man, Wallace moved that was again, he moved that way too fast. He moved it way too fast. Should have thought about that. Now, actually, white has to watch it because it looks like Wallace is planning on playing f4 check. And where could he go at that point? He would lose his rook if f4 is allowed. He would have to go king to e2 and then to move knight to d4, forks the rook and the king, and then it would be a king and pawn game. Now he played the move f4. Now if Alex takes with the king, now he's been thinking, using his time, if he takes with the king, there is a fork. Wallace is doing an excellent job of setting traps, but Alex is just not going for the traps here. Of course, if king e2, that will run into knight to d4 with a fork. So instead he plays king to d3. Excellent play and patience by Lightning Alex. The opposite of his name. All right, Wallace still has a chance for he wants to draw the game. He's looking at eliminating the pawns. If Wallace could eliminate the f3 pawn and the h3 pawn, just trade his 3 pawns for them 2 pawns and just have a knight and rook versus a king and rook, even though that game should be won by white, it's very hard, and I believe that it would probably be a draw with this how the time is now. Alex plays this move Rook E2, makes black decide which side of the board to go on because he will be cut off from anything else. But you always have to watch the strange jumping powers of this knight here. I must say, this is a really high quality game. Alex, who has 1 minute left, that could now become a problem. That should help Wallace in trying to get a draw or any type of advantage. Even though he's down a rook for a knight and a pawn, it's not so simple. It requires some technique. So being down in time might take away from the technique from Alex. All right, so Alex is just bringing the king closer. There's a check here. Alex goes to the opposite color square, which you can't get checked by the knight if you go to the opposite color square. I'm gonna guess look at the technique that he's showing. Wow. So now the knight is gonna have to go further back. I mean, Lightning Alex is showing some really, really good technique here. I wonder if he could check here. Now, I don't know because the knight is now threatening the pawn on F3. So that check might have been a mistake. And now Wallace, I think I'd rather be Wallace if he's able to get this pawn on F3 without a problem. I think I might rather be Wallace. Now, wow, so what is his plan here? So after knight takes F3, maybe there's a check here. Yeah, so he does check here. And then maybe his plan is to go rook to H6, which will win the H7 pawn. But I no longer think white is winning here. And then now he falls under 1 second. He gains some time because it's 1 second increment. So every time you move, you gain a second. Lightning Alex only has 6 seconds here against Wallace, 5 minutes. Now, the biggest mistake you can make is try to make a fast move, trying to waste your opponent's time. You don't want to do that. You want to use that time and make a very, very good, solid move where your opponent has to respond with a solid move of his own. But when you're down in time, you do not have the ability to make solid moves anymore. It's easy for you to take a piece back. It's easy for you to find a check. But when those things are not available, it's not easy for you to find a move there. So remember, when you are up in time and your opponent has low time, do not move fast. That does not help your cause. So I think, yeah, this move that Wallace made is pretty good. And now the king to D6 move is not that great. It was just a reaction move, a reactionary move there. And now Wallace could probably get away with playing the move H5. Or even the move G4. I think G4 is good, and he did that. G4 is played, and you see Alex played really fast. And looks like we can probably push this pawn, and he does. And Alex does not have time to calculate, and Alex goes down on time. Wow. What play from Wallace Harris down the exchange. Had a losing position here, kept chucking at it and working at it. He showed the heart and the experience of a champion that he is, being state champion with the Cornerstone chess team. He showed the experience that he has there. And so he's been there before. And Lightning Alex, you know, hasn't been there before. He had a winning position. He played really well using his time. But at the end, he just didn't have enough of it. So let's go to another game. Let's see. Our new players, I don't know, are they still in here? Maybe they have logged off. Maybe they've logged off here. I see Jaden Woods and Deshaun Woods. I was looking forward to seeing their games today. but maybe they are no longer in the tournament right now. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, they're playing here. So, whoops, I'm sorry. We see Zakiya Sims Westside versus Davian Woods are playing right now. All right. And what are we looking at? The difference is here. We have a pair of bishops versus a rook and a bishop, but the black has a far advanced pawn on a3. And that pawn looks very, very fast. And here it is. Is it black to play? It's black to play here. Looks like black can just push this pawn. And that's pretty much it. You're going to win the bishop. The bishop is going to have to go to d4 and sacrifice itself on the pawn on a1. That's it. All Zakiya has to do is find just the push of a2. a2, then bishop to d4. You might even throw in a little bishop to b6, hoping that the bishop is distracted from the a1, a8 diagonal. But if not, the bishop can always, actually, you don't want to do that because then the bishop can hide on a1. You don't want to do that. So you kind of just want to just go ahead and queen and make him give up the bishop for the pawn on a1. So Zakiya Sims looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. And what happened here? Wait, black resigned? Black left the game here. Wow. So Zakiya left that game and gives the win to Davian Woods. Why? I do not know. Let's go back here. Very weird opening here. Ooh, a lot of stuff going on here. Yeah, and Zakiya just had enough. Maybe she has to go get some lunch. I don't know. But Zakiya had the win, but resigns and gives the win to Davion Woods. Davian Woods. All right. Go to another game here. Davion Woods is now facing Wallace Harris, who is the #1 player right now in the tournament. Let's look at Checkmate Chase versus Caleb. The difference here is material. I see black has 5 pawns and white has 7. So that's 2 extra pawns. So now let's talk about that difference. Material advantage, where you have more than your opponent. If you have more than your opponent, first of all, you want that extra material to be an active participant in the game. Active participant in the game. And the way you do that, especially if you have 2 pawns, you want those pawns to actually work. You want to push those pawns. Those pawns could be passed pawns as well. But also, you want to simplify the game. If you have 2 extra pawns, you would rather have 2 extra pawns and a king versus 2 extra pawns, a rook and bishop and knight. No, you want to trade pieces of equal value for each other. So rook for rook, bishop for bishop, and trade those pieces off. So at the end of the game, you will have 2 extra pawns and a king versus a king and nothing. Or you can say you have a king and 5 pawns versus a king and 3 pawns. And there you still have a pretty easy victory too, because one of those pawns are going to be a pass pawn. You get a all new queen. Once you get that new queen, you're going to be able to do a queen and king checkmate versus your opponent. So that's what you want to do when you have material advantage. You want to simplify, trade those pieces off the board, especially if you have 2 pawns. So 1 pawn might not be enough, but 2 pawns is definitely enough, so you can trade the pieces off and have the 2 pawns in the end of the game, and one of those pawns will become a queen. And so that's what you want to do. That should be your strategy when you have the material difference or material imbalance. All right. So Checkmate Chase versus Caleb here was trying to do just that. We see that Khalid Proctor is looks like he's gonna grab the c3 pawn and try to gain some more pawns back from white. And he gained one back. Looks like he's aiming at the d4 pawn too. Now white is probably gonna go rook takes c6 here. And I will say this, when you have opposite color bishops, that means one person has a light square bishop, one person has a dark square bishop. It's very dangerous when you're attacking a king. So when we look at this position, white has big threats if he plays bishop to f5 and bishop to g6, because the light squares are covered around the king. And actually even have a big threat now because the move rook to c8 check, king to h7, and even moves like bishop to g8 check or bishop to f5 check could be a problem. Here, Khalid Proctor goes for a pawn with bishop to b2 without really thinking about the problems of his king on the back rank. So here, I would probably try to go, he takes a pawn, but I definitely want to play the move. Okay, so he does it a different way, but look at that. He has a discovery attack on the rook here. So what a good move by Checkmate Chase. He's going to pick up the rook here and have a piece advantage there. As he's thinking here. And you see the move, bishop takes b4 is going to happen. Maybe rook to c4, or yeah, maybe rook to c4 here. And then the move a5 is coming. But here, what we want to do, because first of all, he can't play the move a4 because the bishop will drop on b4. And now white is just going to formulate a mating net around the king. You're gonna have to use your king eventually. You're not gonna be able to checkmate with just these pieces right now. But white is clearly winning in this game. Shout out to everybody that's joining us on the YouTube channel on the live stream. Got information about the next weekend, next Saturday on the 12th. There will be another Detroit Metro League practice tournament on Saturday on the 12th. As we see Khalid Proctor drop the b4 bishop here. And also, it's an optional tournament there that actually costs $10. Not much, but costs $10, but it's a trophy tournament and it's for real. And that is optional if you want to have more practice. That tournament will be available to you as well. You can find more details about that tournament on our ticker right above me, MichiganJuniorChessArena.com. You can find more details and register for that tournament if you want more practice. And that will be on Sunday on the 13th. So you have the practice on the 12th and an optional tournament on the 13th as well. All right, let's go to another game. This game pretty much over here. So Khalid Proctor versus Davian Woods here. Looks like they just started up this game. Davian Woods is black. And see, what Davian Woods did there is he moved the piece twice in the opening. He went from knight to c6 to knight to b4. That is usually a no-no. You want to move all your knights and bishops off of the back rank one time before you move another piece twice. So see, Davian didn't realize that the c2 square is not protected. Davian was kind of thinking about the fork without having a helper to control that square. So what Davian did is kind of move the knight too many times there, and then on to c2 there. And Davian really has to take time because right now there's a checkmate threatening and he gives it up. So Khalid Proctor plays bishop takes f7 and the king has nowhere to move. So first things first, guys, for you guys who are beginners like Davian, just develop all the knights and bishops and castle as soon as possible. Castle as soon as possible. Your Chess Kit account, they have videos that show you how to castle. That is very important because it makes your king safe. So things like this won't happen, like bishop takes f7. So that's the first step, is you want to castle as soon as possible. You do not want to move a piece more than once in the beginning of the game before you move um, all your pieces. All right, let's go to another game here. We got Davian Woods against Akia Sims, West Side, Checkmate Chase versus. Oh, this is another game between Lightning Alex and Wallace Harris. That was a crazy game earlier here, and this game here looks like this game is a strange game too. First, White's king is stuck in the center. Looks like Wallace is going for the checkmate on h6, so he has to watch that. Probably have to defend this with the move Rook to g6. Does. But right now, it's a exchange here. So Wallace has two rooks, bishop, and knight versus two bishops, knight, and a rook. But I will say, Lightning Alex's bishops are very nice on his diagonal. So even though Wallace is up a rook, these bishops kind of make up for being down that rook because they're just so nice on these diagonals here. Gotta really watch it. But Wallace definitely has the best piece with this knight on f5. That actually has to go. So maybe he's gonna play. He does. He plays knight e7 to get rid of this knight here. And I actually like what Wallace did by backing up the knight with the rook here too. So Wallace is playing some excellent chess here right now. One thing you would notice is Alex is not really worried about rook takes a5 here. Oh, look at that move. That move was a really nice move from Wallace. Bishop takes f7. If you move the rook, then queen takes h6. That's going to be cancel Christmas. And what that means is it's over. He goes knight f5 first. And then bishop takes g6, check first. Wow, and that was an excellent move by Wallace there. And now Wallace is definitely winning the game. But Alex was winning the game last time against Wallace, and things happen. Remember, you do not want to catch the winning disease here. Wallace has to watch out for that. He's threatening queen g6 check here, which will win the f6 pawn. Black does have these two bishops here, so it's two bishops versus the rook. And there is a king that's in the center, so Alex does have his own counterplay. He has something to aim for. But it's still early in this game. Oh, no problem. Chess Pawn. Shout out to Chess Pawn. Yep. No problem there. Thank you for joining us on the live stream. Now, what's happening here? Alex is saying, hey, I'll take a draw. The rook is actually trapped here. Wow. These two players have had some really interesting games against each other. Wallace coming out on top with terrific play in the last matchup. Now, I'm of the opinion here that even if White gives up this rook, it would be a rook versus a bishop. I kind of want to, my chances, I think my chances more depend on having both the bishops. So I don't really want to trade that bishop for that rook in this position. But I guess he did that. Now I'm wondering if he's going to aim at the weakness on b2. That could be possible. He goes for the trade of queens, and that trade of queens should... Wow, I don't know. I think that is probably winning for Wallace here. He got a rook and pawn versus a bishop. All he needs is to create a passer. Looks like he's going to do that with g4. That stops king h5. There you go. He's going to be ready to push on g5, and that should do it. All right. Let's go to another game here, as Wallace should go on to beat number 2, the second place player, Lightning Alex. Let's go to Davian Woods versus Zakiya Sims Westside. And in this game, we see the imbalance is a queen versus and a pawn versus a rook, bishop, and 5 pawns. So just let you guys know that the rook, bishop, and 5 pawns should beat the queen easily, as long as you use teamwork. Now here, she didn't realize she could just take the pawn with check. But now she finds the check where she forks the king and the pawn there. Beautiful move. Still, this is still a better position for White. Now, White is pushing his pawn up. And guys, do not try. I want you guys to try not to push your pawns without defenders, because just pushing the pawn and trying to erase by itself is not going to be good. So here, Zakiya can take another pawn with check. And now this pawn on f6 is unprotected. And so now it's getting to the point where now this queen is winning here. There's another pawn that can be taken on a2. Notice that she has, oh wow, so she plays b3 here. Because if take, then there will be another check. Oh, but now she has to take the pawn here. You know, the funny thing is she can actually even try to push and queen here. She allows a queen here, but then black gets a queen on a1. This is a crazy game here. Now when she gets a queen, the only way to block the check is bishop c1. Oh, but she checks instead. She checks instead here, and now, oh man, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening anymore. Oh no, now rook to c1 pins the queen to the king. Oh no, missed it. So guys, 3 questions. Are there any checks? Can a piece be attacked more times to protect it? Can a piece be attacked of greater value? She would have found the move attacking a piece of great. She has it again. Rook to c1. I guess she can actually queen here to save her queen, but wow, look at that. This is it's a wild and crazy game here between Davion Woods and Zakiya Sims Westside. So many different ways to win here. They just have to work on closing the game, checkmating patterns for sure. Right? And they have that available on chesskid.com. You guys, Davian and Zakiya should spend a lot of time on ChessKid, doing the puzzles and the computer workouts, because that'll make you better and finish the game. Oh no, she gives up her queen with a check. So now Davian Woods is winning the game has a rook, bishop, queen, and a pawn versus a king. Now let's see the checkmating pattern here, because this is going to be crucial. If they can checkmate now that you've won all the material, remember, this is not like soccer or basketball where whoever has more wins. You have to checkmate, right? You can have 1,000 pieces to 0, but if you don't checkmate, you won't win the game. That's what makes chess so unique, and that's a stalemate there. Wow, stalemate, which means the king cannot move, but the king is not in check. So that's a draw. So both players, I would advise you guys, I want you guys to go on Chess Kid, go to the puzzles immediately, go to the puzzles and do as many puzzles as you can every day. And then I guarantee you'll be a much better chess player. Okay, let's go back here. Let's go back. What else do we have here? We still have Wallace is undefeated on the top of the leaderboard. Khalid Proctor is number 2 with 6 points. Checkmate Chase is number 3, has 4. Lightning Alex tied with him at 4. Khalid Proctor also tied at 4. Davion Woods is there coming up with 3 points. Zakiya Sims Westside has 1 point for the last draw. Deshaun Woods and Jaden Woods are right behind that there. And now we have a game with Zakiya Sims Westside versus Wallace Harris. And that's going to be a tough game for Zakiya, playing the #1 player in the field. Then again, thanks everybody for joining this live stream here. This is the Detroit Metro League practice. We have Detroit Metro League will be starting next month, real games. And I just want you guys to get used to playing on this website, getting your username in there, and just get back into groove of things of playing chess. Hopefully everybody's being safe, because we have to stay at home because of the COVID-19 warning, or I guess they can call it the pandemic or whatever it is. But we're at home. What better game to play when you're at home is chess? We can play it online. You could play anybody in the whole world, by playing online. And the chessboard is right there on your screen. And these tournaments can also be United States Chess Federation rated tournaments, as our league will be when we start league play. And so we want to get used to those games. As we see that Wallace and Lightning Alex they have another game against each other. So it looks like these guys are going to be playing each other quite often here. It's going to be a big giant battle between these two. Wallace has won the previous 2 meetings, but the first one was he came from behind. The second one, he was magnificent in his play. This time. And what are we seeing here? We're seeing, this is called I thought this was going to be the Halloween Gambit here. What was Wallace doing there? Actually, I don't know what neither one is doing here. I thought that would be, so I don't know what's happening here, actually. So now I'm expecting D4. That's a fork. So he gives the piece back. What's happening here? So now queen is threatening E5. Very interesting here. Plays D6 here. Covers the E5 knight. Both these players have had really interesting games. Wallace just comes out of the gate sacrificing a piece in the opening. Now we see rook to E1. Look at bishop takes F2. That's a mistake. Bishop takes F2. Check. Wins the rook. Alex looks like he's taking his time. He goes knight takes F2, which isn't as strong because of the move rook takes E5 and queen takes F7. So that was a bad move by Alex to go with the knight instead of the check. And then queen takes F7 is checkmate. Oh my God, what a big blunder there by Lightning Alex there. instead of going bishop takes f7, which wins the rook here, he goes knight takes here, and then rook takes e5 check just leads to checkmate. Wow, what a crazy event of games there. Wallace was in trouble, lost a piece. Then he had a chance to get the piece back with the fork. I mean, it was crazy. Like Wallace here sacrifices here. Maybe thought he had a fork here. He moves it back. Now this move, knight to c4, wasn't the best because you have your king in the center. Then bishop to c5 was a blunder because of d4. Right? d4 here, but he misses that and plays queen to h5, hitting the knight. And then the move d6 was played, and then Wallace blunders again by going rook e1, allowing bishop takes f2. Then black blunders by playing knight takes f2 instead of bishop takes f2. And then Wallace wins the game with rook takes e5 and then queen takes f7. Boy, both playing, but that was a crazy game. But it was full of ridiculous blunders in that game. That's why we're here. We're practicing. We are practicing today, guys. And so we can shake off the rust and get back into the swing of things. Again, shout out to everybody that's joining us here on our stream here. Let's go to another game. We have Khalid Proctor. It's been a long time since we've seen these two. This is a, so we see black has an extra pawn. That is our difference in this position. Black has an extra pawn here on e4. The extra pawn is actually a pass pawn here, where white also has a pass pawn here. Now, black decides to give up the e4 pawn to grab the g2 pawn. Makes some sense. Makes some sense here. White does not grab the e4 pawn, but allows the taking here. Oh, and then instead, he attacks the pawn on e4 with the rook. Now, I think that we can play the move rook to a2. This is what I would play to get rid of white's only pass pawn. But instead, he plays f5. That makes some sense, too. That's fine. And then now, white is trying to race the pawn forward. But here, we should probably play rook to a2 to stop that. He can play the move rook to e6 check or the move rook to a8 to protect that there. Wow, and now after king g5, this is nice technique by Checkmate Chase here. What he wants to do is check the king, move the king away from the blocking square in front of the passed pawn so he can push his pawns. Makes a lot of sense. Or he wants to check so he can move his king into f4. Now, one thing you always have to watch out here, as white probably is going to play a2, is you do not want this rook to leave the back rank with a check, because what will happen here is white will be able to queen the pawn next move, and black is going to have to sacrifice his rook for the queen. So you want to keep that king away from any of the white's checks here. As Khalid Proctor is using the time here, and he plays h3. I like the fact that he thought about that a lot. You should expect Chase to play rook to a3 check, and then moving his king to f4 so that he can usher the pawns on g4 and h5 and try to queen that way. If not just the e3 pawn, which can queen. So I would expect queen to f4 and then the move e3. Instead he trades, he takes the h pawn. That's very dangerous to do that. Now white's king is running here so he can defend the passed pawn and free the rook here. Now I will say both players are moving way too fast here. Way too fast. But black should have the win here. Black can even probably sacrifice his rook for the remaining pawn and still win. Remember, anytime two passed pawns make it to the 6th rank, as long as the king is not immediately close to those pawns, those two pawns beat a rook. So remember, 2 pawns on the 6th rank, or if you're black, 2 pawns on the 3rd rank beat a rook by themselves with no help. You push one pawn, the rook can take one, but then the other pawn will queen. The rook will not be in time to catch the other pawn. So now that wasn't necessary. Now here, black sacrifices this, but after pawn push, rook comes back and stops that pawn. So maybe he's saying, hey, I'm going to get it to 6th rank. But I will say this king is too close. And I do not like white moving that fast either. So I do not like what white just did there. And I don't like what black just did there, because now white is going to control the squares. Remember, they beat the rook as long as the king is not able to be close enough to defend. And now white is going to be able to go king to f. Oh, actually, this king takes. And that was a big, giant blunder by black there. A giant blunder. Now, white is threatening checkmate, guys. So white is not worried about the pawn on e2 or these pawns on g7 and h6. He is threatening checkmate with rook h1 check. And he has it. Rook h1 is checkmate. Boom. What a game there. How did... There was no need for the sacrifice, black. Just keep it simple. You had extra pawns. You did not need to sacrifice anything right there. Just be patient. But he went for the fancy win, the around the back pass. But a lot of times when you make the around the back pass in basketball, it goes out of bounds and you turn the ball over. That's what happened here. Where you have a simple pass, make it simple, get from point A to B. That's the best way to play. All right. Let's go to another game here. We have Khalid Proctor versus Wallace. Can anybody beat Wallace Harris today? Can anyone beat Wallace? I don't know. Wallace has the black pieces here. Everything is equal here. The biggest difference, because we're talking about differences here, as Wallace just blunders the bishop on d6. But it seems like blunders haven't hurt Wallace so far. But Wallace blunders the bishop on d6, so I was going to say the biggest difference was Wallace had a development advantage because the knight is stuck on b1 and the bishop is still on c1. But now Wallace has a development advantage. He does, but there's also a material disadvantage. But how good is your material if you're not moving it? So guys, if you keep your bishop and knight on b1 and c1, you're not up a piece. Because they're not doing anything. So you're not up a piece. So right now, Wallace has 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces involved. And here, Khalid Proctor has developed his bishop with a tempo aiming at the rook on b1. I guess we can expect rook c8. And what Wallace's plan is now, being down a piece, is to attack as much as he can before the knight is able to develop and get the rook in the game. Because right now, the knight and rook are not in the game here. What Wallace wants to do is continue to use initiative, attacking a piece more times, attack a piece of greater value, checks, all those things he wants to use right now as much as he can to take advantage of the little bit of development he has. Because once Caleb is able to develop this knight and bring the rooks together, then Wallace is going to have a tough time being down a pawn. But then again, Wallace has his experience in just the tournament alone. After blunders, he's been able to come back. So it's going to be very tough here. Now I think Caleb can actually force a trade here with queen c7. But he goes back to a3. He still has this bishop attack on the rook here. I'm going to guess the move rook to c8, but then white should probably be knight c3, and white is just winning in this position. All right, let's check out another game. We have Khalid versus Alex. That's number 2 versus number 3. Zakiya Sims West Side versus Davion Woods. And we see a position where white hasn't castled. So I believe the thing that these two kids have to work on, Davion Woods and Zakiya Sims West Side, is just the castling aspect. Gotta get castled and protect yourself first. Put your hands up. Put your hands up first. Instead of just having your face out there for them to hit you, put your hands up so you can guard your face, and then you can punch out of your defensive guard. And so that's the one thing in chess. Your defensive guard is castling. Okay? That's where you got your hands up. And when you have the right moment, then that's when you attack. Okay? We have about 34 minutes left in our Metro League practice. 34 minutes left in our Metro League practice here. Go to another game. Look at Lightning Alex. Lightning Alex has white versus Khalid P1, who has black. Lightning Alex, the biggest difference here is there is 2-pawn deficit here by white. Black is up 2 pawns, 7 to 5 pawns, but white has really good pressure. Look at the triple attack that white has on the knight. Black protected the knight again with the move d5. And here he can also put more pressure. Now he chose to go knight d4, kind of a fast move. I believe because he wants to play f3. But he could have also played knight to d2 and put additional pressure on the knight here. I think that would have probably been a better move, knight to d2. Khalid Proctor, or Khalid didn't really see that. Because now f3 is going to come in a heartbeat. But I guess f3 doesn't really work that great because a knight f6 protects the rook on e8. All right, after queen h4 by Khalid, let's see, what is he threatening here? He's threatening the bishop on f4, that's one. I think Khalid is playing really good here. Now Alex is looking for a place to put this bishop. He could probably just go bishop takes c7. No, nothing wrong with that. He goes bishop to g3. Also, he could have went knight takes f7. So I'm going to go show you guys something. After bishop takes e7, he did have the move knight takes f2. Because, or maybe g3 would have been a problem. I'm not sure. But, g3 could have been a problem, and then you lose the knight. But I was looking at knight takes f2. If rook takes f2, then rook takes e1 check. That would have been a problem. But instead, he goes bishop g3, and he's going to lose he can't. Wow, what a strong move by Alex. You can't take the knight because a rook takes e8 check. Wins the rook there. Wow. But Khalid sees that move, and he hits him with the move f3. If Khalid goes knight takes g3, he's going to get hit with rook takes e8 check and lose the queen. So Khalid is going to be forced to go knight f6. I'm impressed with Khalid's discipline here, not going for any of those tricks and tactics. Great discipline here by Khalid. I think Khalid is from Cornerstone here, so it doesn't surprise me. I think. Correct me, guys. Where is Khalid Proctor, or Khalid P1 from? I think it's Khalid Proctor. Is he from University Prep or Washington Parks? Thank you. Hey, what's going on, Kevin? 1550. No problem. Thank you for joining the Detroit Metro League live stream. All right. Khalid Proctor. Is he from? I'm gonna have to check that out. But I like how he's playing in this game here. I like how he's pushing here. So Lightning Alex is gonna have to figure some things out. I would look at moves like Knight F5. With the has a threat of Knight to E7 check. I would look at moves like that. Okay, so he goes Queen to D2. What is his plan here? Looks like his plan is just to move the Queen to F4. look at Khalid there too. He goes Knight to H5, but that's a problem. That's a blunder. Oh, and Alex, who doesn't move fast, misses Rook takes E8, which would have won the Queen. Alex, who normally does not move fast, chose this time to move fast and just that quick. That's all it takes, guys. That's why you have to have discipline in using 15 seconds. If you're playing a 30-minute game, 30 seconds per move at least. 15-minute game, 15 seconds per move at least. That one time that Alex decides to move fast in 4 seconds, look what happened. He misses the chance to win the Queen. All right, so Knight F5. What is his plan here? I think his plan is to go Queen to F4. He's bringing pieces on to the king side after Rook takes. And then to move Queen F4. Threatens C7, but it also threatens the move Knight takes H6, which is what his plan was, I believe. Queen F4. You also have the move Knight E7. I don't think this is as good. Instead, he goes Queen to C2, which protects the knight, but it kind of puts his queen out of play here. So I don't like Queen C2 as much as I like Queen F4. I think Alice is trying to keep hopes of Knight C7 or Rook to E7, but of course, that's a hope chess. You don't want to play like that. And so Khalid this literally plays Rook E8. And so there was no threat at all with that anymore. And Khalid is steady. Does what he's doing is he's simplifying a position. He's liquidating. He has 2 extra pawns, so he should be winning here. And I like what Alex did here. He stopped Queen E1, but he used a bishop instead. He didn't go for bishop takes C7, which he could have. He could have went for that. That probably would have been a better move, actually. Bishop takes C7. Try to chip away at that pawn deficit. Both players have plenty of time left. We have 27 minutes, and here, Khalid actually gives up a pawn here. Wow, he gives up a pawn there. And that was big there. Look at the move, bishop to F4. Trying to keep the knight here. Look at, oh man, such really good mature moves here. Knight H5 was played. And then bishop here. Now, there's going to be a Queen E1 check. Look how he is attacking a piece more times than protected there. Excellent there. H4 was played here. But now he has the knight to F4 could be played here. He could play knight to G3 as well. He plays F6 here. Now he has to watch it here because there's a knight to, oh, but there's a Queen E1 check. Woo. So knight G4 would lose the bishop to Queen E1 check. Now bishop takes F6. He would have to go Queen takes F6 or knight takes F6. So he can't do that. So here, Alice has to be careful. He has to move this bishop back. Right? He has to move this bishop back. Where is he going to move it? Bishop to probably the D2 or something like that. Shout out to everybody that's joining us here live on our Detroit Metro League stream. These are the kind of things that we're going to see when the regular season starts for the kids. Bishop D2 was played by Lightning Alex there. These are exciting things for kids. You know, kids are really good with technology anyway. They're always on YouTube. For those of you parents out there that's watching this live or a replay of this, you know how good your kids are with YouTube. Probably have to tell them to get off of YouTube. But this is a platform that we can use as coaches and parents and even chess players to just increase the love for the game and the culture of the game in Detroit. All right. I'm saying this kid, Khalid, make sure, I think it's Khalid. Khalid Proctor is a player here. I love his maturity, his technique, not frazzled by anything, and he's doing it in limited time. Now, I will warn him, he needs to slow down a little bit and take a little bit more time. I would like to see that, but I see he has really good talent here. Alex took his time and noticed that his knight was attacked twice, but he didn't see knight to e2. And the game is over there. Man, what a game by Khalid Proctor. I wouldn't mind seeing Khalid Proctor face Wallace Harris again in a game. So let's go to another game. What do we have here? We have Checkmate Chase versus Davian Woods. Wallace Harris still has not lost a game, guys. Hasn't lost a game at all. And right now he's playing Caleb and Wallace here. Let's see. Wallace has black. I see a rook and knight. Now, come on now. If Wallace can win this game, come on. Caleb has a queen. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see Wallace's queen. Never mind. So Wallace is actually up a pawn. But not only is up a pawn, he's up 2 passed pawns. So Wallace is easily winning this game here. You see Caleb made a blunder by attacking an unprotected knight. But Wallace was able to protect that knight by at the same time taking Caleb's knight. So Wallace is winning this game. Initially, I thought Wallace didn't have a queen, but I was wrong about that. It looks like Wallace is going to go ahead and win this one too. I mean, you see moves like queen to f3 should be good enough to win the game. Of course, the pawn can't take the queen on f3 because it's pinned by the rook. So queen f3 should be good enough to win. He plays queen to d3, being careful. He's stopping all checks on the long diagonal. Being very careful. So Wallace should go ahead and win that game and stay undefeated there. Lightning Alex is number 2 on this list. And while he is waiting for a game, we have Davion Woods versus Checkmate Chase here. And Checkmate Chase has black. And Davion has to just simply work on developing all the pieces here. Right? All the pieces. He's already down a rook here. Now here he takes the bishop without actually looking at if it was a safe square. So Checkmate Chase probably is going to go ahead on and win this game here, which will put him in maybe tied for second place. So the big battle is to tie for second place unless someone could finally beat Wallace here. We go back to this game. Wallace is threatening checkmate here. He's stopping all checks on the diagonal. And Caleb just gives up the checkmate with queen takes g2. And that will be the game. as Wallace checks to make sure he's not missing anything. All right. So for everybody that's watching, remember we have the same Detroit Metro League practice will be Sunday the 12th. Sunday the 12th, Detroit Metro League practice part 2. I know this one was kind of it was late. People were trying to hit the link and figure out how to register for a elitechess.org account. Remember, guys, there is a instructional video that I made just for you in our email that went out to all the coaches, and hopefully the coach can disseminate that to the players and the parents, where it showed you how to create a elitechess.org account. So that way next week we can have more players in our practice. And also remember, guys, I have my phone number as well that you can call, that I also gave to you in a in the email as well. Now my phone number is 313-878-2807. I kind of thought about it if I should give my phone number here on YouTube, but guess what, guys? I just remembered you're the only ones that can see this. This YouTube video and stream can only be seen by people that I've sent it to and that I know. So it shouldn't be a problem. But my phone number is in that email. You can also contact me at brian.detroitmetroleague@gmail. Brian.BRYAN Brian.detroitmetroleague @gmail. You can contact me as well. And not only do we have another practice, we also have an optional tournament that I am running myself. And it costs $10 per child, and it's a trophy tournament. It's the real deal. So it's more than just practice. You're gonna have to be. It's a rated tournament. It's a whole different type of thing. So if you haven't played a rated tournament before, you can get a membership and play in this one. But if you played in a rated tournament and you would like to play in a United States Chess Federation rated tournament, of course it's online. You have an option to play in this one on the 13th, which is Sunday. Starts at 12 p.m. ends around 4 p.m. I think it will actually end before that, but it ends around 4 p.m. from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. And that information, as you can see in the ticker right above me, is at MichiganJuniorChessArena.com, MichiganJuniorChessArena.com, and the tournament is called the World Junior Online Tournament. And we have some players there from all over the nation, actually players from a lot of different states. So that's also possible to get you guys back in the rhythm of things and knocking off that rust, because it's chess time now, guys. It's chess time now, and we're gonna get back into it. We're not gonna let the pandemic stop us. We have these platforms online, and we're gonna go forward with the Detroit Metro League season. And of course, hopefully in the future, everything will go back to normal. But until then, we're going to make do with what we have. So I appreciate everybody for joining us here in the Detroit Metro League live stream and for the Detroit Metro League practice tournament here on elitechess.org. All right, let's check out a couple of more games here. Let's see. Lightning Alex and Wallace are going at it again. Again. And I'm coming to think, it feels like that maybe you might have Checkmate Chase, Khalid Proctor, or Lightning Alex are probably the only ones that could probably give Wallace a loss in any of these games. So right now, you see Alex went knight h5 here. I wonder if he's willing to go knight to f4. Because the knight h5 move was pretty strong. He can go knight f4, and from knight f4, he does go knight f4. So, I mean, Alex is playing stronger than what his rating is, I would believe. Because that's a very mature move as well. Now, it looks like Wallace is going to just castle queenside and try to open up the g file. Makes sense. I think Lightning Alex should probably move his king over and kind of use that g file right away. But instead, he chooses to develop the bishop to b7 with the b6 move. I think this is very, very slow. Wallace played g3 immediately, trying to open up this g file, which is exactly what he should have done. Now, I will say this. The danger about opening up the g file is allowing black's bishop the attack and pressure on the b2 pawn. And so he has to watch out for that for sure. But right now, I believe white is definitely better in this position. And actually, I think he could probably, now black could take here and stop the G file from being opened up here, actually. So Lightning Alex has something to think about here. All right, let's check out another game. We'll get back to the game between these two heavyweights. Look at the standings. Checkmate Chase is number 2, Lightning Alex is number 3, and Khalid Proctor is number 4. And then coming up 5 and 6, Davion Woods and Khalid P. They both have 8 points. With Jaden Woods and Deshaun Woods coming up behind them. So it's a big battle for second place between these three players: Lightning Alex, Khalid, and Checkmate Chase. Speaking of, let's look at Checkmate Chase versus Caleb. Caleb here. Now, the difference in this position is space here. Now, we haven't talked about this. This pawn here on e5 gives white more space. For instance, the knight cannot go to f6 because the pawn on e5. There cannot be a piece on d6 because the pawn on e5. So if the knight can't go to f6, the knight has to go to e7. And the knight on e7 isn't as great as it is on f6. So that means white gets better squares for his pieces because of the pawn on e5. And so that's a space advantage. Also, white has a pawn on d4 that covers the square e5. So when you're going against someone who has a space advantage against you, you want to attack the space, just like what black did here with c5. So now, if we can get rid of the d4 pawn, then the e5 pawn would be weaker, and then we could probably surround that e5 pawn because it's on our half of the board. The pawn on e5 is on black's half of the board, so we need to get rid of the support system of the pawn on e5, and then maybe we can get rid of the pawn on e5 too. Or maybe we could surround it with all our pieces. For instance, knight to c6, knight to e7, knight to g6, and queen to c7. Everything surrounds the pawn on e5. And then if we cannot win that pawn by surrounding it, we just trade it off with the move f6. So that's what Caleb is trying to do right now. Now, when we have white and you have a space advantage, you want to make it indestructible. Like white is doing really well with the knight, the bishop. Maybe you can bring the queen over and make sure the pawn is covered really well. And the reason why you do that is because it gives your pieces better squares to move to. And if your piece have better squares to move to, then your piece can get to good squares in the center. And then if that king is castled, then your pieces are going to be on good squares to attack the castle king. Yes. So this is another tip I'm going to give you guys. When you have a pawn on e5, that gives you a great chance to checkmate a castled king, a king that has already safeguarded itself and castle. So I have a saying: a pawn on e5, the castle king dies. A knight on e5, the castle king won't survive. So if you have white, you get a pawn on e5, you have permission to attack that castle king, and more than likely, it will be successful. If you have a knight on e5, you have permission to attack that castle king, and more than likely, that will be successful. So just remember that saying: a pawn on e5, the castle king dies. What's going on, everybody out there that's watching us in the live stream? I see your comments. 21 Savage 212 Proctor asked me, can you keep the games going while the time is up? No. If you run out of time, the games are gonna stop. So yes, that is a part of chess. If you lose, if your time runs out, the games are going to stop there. So you can't keep the game going after the time runs out. I know you guys probably had a winning position, and I can hear the kids now. I would have won if I had more time. No, but that's not the case. As we see Checkmate Chase just blunder the piece on D4. But yeah, if you run out of time, guys, that's it. That's it, bro. You don't have any more time. That's it. You know, I know you say, hey, if I would have had more time, I'd have won, but that's a part of the game. That's a part of chess here. As Checkmate Chase goes bishop to E3, all black has to do is go knight takes E2, and then bishop takes E3, and then I think that maybe not bishop takes E3, but we can play knight E7, just develop the pieces, and black is up a piece here. But I will say this, like I told you guys before, pawn on E5. So even though white is down a piece, that pawn on E5 will give you great chances. For instance, white can play here queen to G4, attacking the G7 pawn right away. That forces black to move the pawn to G6 or play king F8. Once you move the pawn to G6, now the light squares are weak. Here oh, wow. Now white says, hey, you have not developed here. White says, you have not developed. I'm going to sacrifice my knight for 2 pawns. See, I like how these kids are playing. Checkmate Chase. I like how these kids play. Man, of course, they are a part of the, I believe, the Cornerstone state champion team. Look at that. He says you won't get a chance to get your pieces out. Now, I do think black can play knight E7. You must play knight E7 to get castle. But black instead moves the piece again. And oh, I'm sorry. He had to move the bishop. So now rook D1 is coming and boom. Look at white here. And now I think white is just crushing. After rook D1, the bishop is pinned to the queen. I think that's it. That bishop is going to be lost. Because knight F6 cannot be played. Why? Because there's a pawn on E5. Whoa, blunder. What a blunder, guys. He played F4 instead of rook D1, which would have won the bishop because of the pin. Now, black was so surprised, he played knight E7, hitting the rook. Now, after the move, rook D2, I would say. Now, but the thing is, he has to be careful still because he can't castle still. Because after rook D2, if you castle, let's say rook D2, and then castle, then the other rook still comes to D1 and pins the bishop, and you're going to lose the bishop anyway. So that is still a problem. But it's not, he can literally duck out of the way here. He can play queen to C8. Like now, play queen to C8. Oh, but he misses it here. He castles, and now rook F to D1 is going to come. Rook F to D1 is coming here. Now, I do wonder if he plays, after rook F to D1, can black just play bishop to B5? Because, of course, rook D8, then bishop takes E2, and I think you save yourself. But, I mean, Caleb kind of blundered in this position big time. All right, guys, we only have 6 minutes left. 6 minutes left in our first Detroit Metro League practice of the year. I have really enjoyed you guys, the games here. As Checkmate Chase plays rook D1. I want to see if black will play the move bishop to B5. Yeah, bishop to B5. I think bishop B5, rook takes D8, bishop takes E2, and if rook takes F8, rook takes F8. There might be a problem with the move rook D7. Rook D7 might actually win a piece anyway. After all the trades. So let's see, bishop B5, rook takes D8, bishop takes E2, rook takes A8. maybe he has to go bishop takes d1 first. Okay, so maybe we go bishop takes d1. He finds the move. What a good, I mean, he finds bishop to b5. Can he find all the variations that go with bishop to b5? Like I said, guys, rook takes d8. We have bishop takes e2, rook takes a8, or maybe rook takes f8 check first. And then after rook takes f8, then you play rook d7, and that should win a piece for white. He did that. At the end, rook d7 should fork 2 pieces. Oh, no, then you have bishop to f8. So no, you're still in it. Still in it with bishop f8. So that was a good calculation to get out of this with only 4 minutes left, guys. So we're gonna look at another game. I don't know if Checkmate Chase can finish this game out. Wallace looks like he won that game against oh, I'm sorry. Now I know what you're saying, 21 Savage Man, 212 Proctor. If the time runs out in the tournament, yes. If the time runs out in the tournament, you can finish the game, but it will not count for the tournament. Once the time runs out in the tournament, the allotted time that we have, it will let you finish the game, but it will not count in your standings. So, sorry, I didn't understand what you were saying at first. I had to think about it. So Caleb P, who's playing really well today versus Wallace here. Wallace looks like he's going to be undefeated in this game as Wallace sacrifices or plays bishop takes h3, threatening the move queen takes g2. Can simply play knight e1, that protects it. Instead, he decides to give up the rook on f1. And after queen takes f1, Wallace sacrifices the bishop for 2 pawns. Actually, it's probably going to be more like 3 pawns here. Nope. It's going to be 2 pawns here. Wallace could have actually Khalid could have actually played queen to g7, which should win the bishop. I guess you could still sacrifice for 2 pawns, but should win there. All right, yeah. You're welcome. I just got a message from one of our organizers, Miss McCann, and she says she's enjoying watching you guys play here in this practice. And remember, guys, this is one of the first of 2 practices that's going to happen. We have one next Saturday at the same time, 1 p.m. We started a little bit late today, 1:15. I want to give everybody a chance to log on and get a username and ask questions. But next week it'll be 1 p.m. start time, and it's going to end around 3 p.m. And we're probably going to cut it off. So I will say probably about an hour and a half. Actually, we will get an hour and a half time of practice games. As we look at WJH 3122, who is Wallace Harris from the Cornerstone team, against Khalid P1, I believe is Khalid Proctor. And WJH 3122 has a lifetime advantage over Khalid Proctor of 2 games to 1. Khalid Proctor, looking at, I'll look at your game. So we see Khalid Proctor in the chat here. He wants us to look at his game. All right, Caleb P1. We're looking at your game now. Caleb, you have a rook and bishop versus a 3 pawns? Rook and bishop versus 3 pawns. And yes, Caleb, you should be winning this game here. And you're going against Checkmate Chase. All right, so maybe you guys have some type of rivalry. I don't know. But it looks like you are very happy that you're winning the game against Checkmate Chase, who is first board or second board, one or the other. I know that him and Wallace Harris are pretty close in rating, but they can both be interchanged. Both are talented, 2 of the most talented Detroit players that we have had. And Caleb P1 wants to show that, hey, I'm talented too. Look at my game. So I see your game, Caleb. I see you out there. I see you. See what you're doing here. But Caleb, I must say though, you have 13 seconds. And after those 13 seconds are over, Caleb, it won't count for the tournament or for our practice. So as we count down, guys, to 3, 2, 1, that is the end of Detroit Metro League right there. And that's it. And our tournament is over, even though we have players that are still playing, finishing their games out, because the games don't stop. It's just our practice stopped. Our tournament, practice tournament has stopped now. And you can see the awards that were given here. Wallace Harris, who is WJH 3122 of the state champion Cornerstone chess team, had played 9 games and his win rate is 100%. He didn't lose any of his games. Number 2 was Checkmate Chase through tie breaks, because there was a tie between Checkmate Chase, Lightning Alex, and Khalid P1. Checkmate Chase, who was Chase Harris, also coming from the same team, played 7 games and win rate 71%, comes in number 2. And in the third place player is Alex, Lightning Alex. Now I'm gonna tell you guys who Lightning Alex is. Lightning Alex is a player that I actually teach that's outside of Detroit. I let him play because you guys, I usually teach them during this time where we have in our practice. So I said, okay, if I'm going to miss our lesson with each other, he's an unrated player. I'm sorry, he's around like 800. So since we missed our lesson with each other, I said, okay, I'll let you into this practice. And he joined us in our practice here, Lightning Alex. And that is your top 3. So Wallace Harris, Chase Harris, and Alex Zhao, which is Lightning Alex. That's 1, 2, and 3. Shout out to the other ones. Khalid P was just outside of the top 3. And then Davion Woods was number 5. Then we have Caleb P1, Zakiya Sims Westside, Jaden Woods 09, and then we got Deshaun Woods. Congratulations, everybody, and thank you for participating in this Detroit Metro League practice. Remember, next week on the 12th, we have the same thing, same time, same bat channel, and I'm going to stream that as well. So join the stream as well. Thanks everybody who commenting in the stream. Feel free to like, share this stream if you want. Subscribe to the channel. Also, we have a practice, as I said, a practice on the 12th next week, Saturday, 1 p.m. Also, an optional tournament Sunday at 12 p.m. That's called the World Junior Online, and that tournament costs $10. So you're going to need your parents to register for you for that one. You also have to be a member of the United States Chess Federation. If you have a membership and it's expired, you have to renew that membership. You have to get with your parent about that tournament, but that will be on Sunday at 12 p.m. until about 4 p.m. there. You're going to play 5 rounds of games in that tournament. You can find all that information. Look at the above clicker right above me, MichiganJuniorChessArena.com, MichiganJuniorChessArena.com. Shout out to everybody that put this together. Kevin Fight, LaRonda McCann, Miss Yanish, Miss Motley, all the coaches out there from Talifora, the tournament directors with Coach Wilder, Coach Johnson, Coach Clark, anyone that I've forgotten, all the participating schools. I'm so glad you guys are in the chess season. I can't wait to see. I'm looking forward to seeing us participate in this Detroit Metro League this year online. All right, for the Detroit Metro League, I am going to conclude this stream. I am Coach Brian, out.